Hey, everybody. This is Craig Garber. Welcome to Everyone Loves Guitar. We got a really special guest today with Otmaro Ruiz. I have never heard anybody play jazz piano as like amazing as Otmaro, man. He is just like first class, top to bottom, not just great chops, but man, he knows the right notes to put in. And I'm really happy he's here with us today. I want to give a shout out to our mutual friend, Jimmy Haslett. Jimmy, thank you very much for hooking us up. Jimmy's one of the sweetest human beings I've ever met. So thanks, Jimmy. And also make sure you go to everyonelovesguitar.com/subscribe to subscribe to the show. If you're watching us on YouTube, hit the subscribe button and the little emoji that looks like a bell. That helps us get recommended by YouTube. And thanks for your support. Let me tell you about Otmaro's background. Successful jazz pianist, originally from Venezuela. He moved to LA in '89 to join jazz players like Alex Acuna, Justo Almario, and Abraham Laboriel Sr., I'm assuming, right?
Yes.
Musicians he still works with today. As Dianne Reeves' pianist, he was also her MD, and he worked with her on her CD, In the Moment, the live concert, which won a Grammy Award in 2001. Otmaro received the second Grammy nomination that same year for his work with Alex Acuna, and his work as an arranger was recognized by the American Academy of Recording Arts with a 2016 Grammy nomination and a double Latin Grammy Award nomination in 2019. Did you ever work with, man, I had an engineer, and I'm spacing out, terrible, who does all Latin music. Oh God, this is embarrassing. I'm sorry, I can't. What the hell? This is what happens. I've had like 850 guests. And honestly, I'm pretty sharp, but like.
Well, you can blame it on the amount of guests. I just blame it on my age.
Or my age, yeah. I'm too vain to blame it on that. But otherwise, yes. My wife always says, she goes, you're getting old. I'm like, no, you are getting old. As a sideman, Otmaro has worked with John McLaughlin, Randy Brecker, and Bill Evans' SoulBop project, Simon Phillips Protocol, Tito Puente, Arturo Sandoval, John Patitucci, Paquito D'Rivera, Jing Chi, which is Robben Ford and Jimmy Haslett, and Russell and Vinnie Colaiuta's band. God, this is horrible. Yeah. Akira Jimbo, Frank Gambale, Peter Erskine, Dave Weckl, Gino Vannelli, Robben Ford, Vinnie Colaiuta, Jon Anderson, and many others. In 2015, he got his first I didn't say this right, Grammy in the arranging category. And in 2018, his album Elemental earned a double nomination at the Latin Grammy Awards in the categories of Best Arrangement and Best Jazz Album. And man, the arrangement on Essencia, holy smokes, man, that was brilliant job, man. He's also worked as jazz piano faculty at the University of Southern California, at Cornell School of Contemporary Music at Shepherd University. He's been a frequent guest clinician at the LA Music Academy, at Musicians Institute, and he performs master classes all over the world. Man, thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate you coming on the show.
Thank you so much, Craig, man. It's very, very nice being here with you.
Likewise, man. This is like badass, man.
Well, it's a long journey.
Yeah.
I can say that I take care of my baby face, but behind the face, this is a long journey.
I hear you, man. Hey, let's start.
I may like to add in the last year that resume should reflect also that now I am part of the UCLA faculty.
Awesome, man, and they are lucky to have you. All righty, so let's start at the beginning. Venezuela, where did you grow up there, and what was that part of the country like, and maybe what was your childhood like?
I grew up in the capital, in Caracas, but my family, from both sides, father and mother, were from the province, and especially my mother's family are all from what we would consider the big plains, the cowboy land.
Oh, cool.
A family of many farmers, agriculture specialists, agronomists, and a lot of attorneys. But I am the first musician in the family. And but I grew up in country that was, I don't mean to
No,
deflect
dude,
to the other side,
no,
but
man,
in a country that was very different from the Venezuela from today.
Yeah.
And at a time in which we enjoyed perhaps one of the biggest cultural and economic bonanzas of any Latin American country
Yeah.
in history. So much that they used to call it Saudi Venezuela.
Really?
So,
I never heard that. That's cool.
Yeah. So it was a wonderful time to grow up in my country.
That's awesome, man. And as I understand it, you had formal studying actually in guitar in Venezuela. So tell me about that. Like, how did you get into guitar initially, and what prompted you to switch over to piano?
Well, as I said, my mother's family is from the plains, from Cabo Land, and the folk music in our countries is played with this little instrument called the cuatro, which is very similar to an ukulele.
Yeah.
And that's the first instrument that every Venezuelan plays. So I started playing cuatro as a kid. I was very good at it, and I used to accompany choirs and my other musical endeavors, always with the cuatro. And at some point, when I was 8 years old, I asked my parents that I wanted to study acoustic guitar. I wanted to be a classical guitar player.
You knew that at 8?
Yeah.
How did you know that?
Well, because I saw. I had when I was a kid. I am suffering the consequences of having a very extremely compartmentalized brain. I wanted to do so many things. And when I was a kid, I was doing art. I was enrolled in art lessons, like graphic arts, and I studied acting, and I studied science because my parents were doctors, and at some point I was doing a course, an art course, and I saw this guy playing guitar. I still remember his name because I was 7 years old probably, and I saw this guy. His name is Gilberto Ospino. We are still friends. We remain friends for life.
That's so cool.
Because it's the first time that I saw somebody playing guitar, like finger picking style, but he was playing some music that I couldn't really process in terms of the time. I was okay, like understanding even at that age, when something was of a classical nature or folk, less folk or folk. Those were my two references: classical or folk.
Sure.
But this guy was playing some early Baroque, early music from the Renaissance, and some of that music has this weird harmonic stuff, like really like false harmonic relations, because it was the beginning of this of basically of music,
Yeah.
So they were like using like open strings and stuff. And I couldn't say, wow, that doesn't sound. It sounds too progressive. It sounded like something like from a band like what was the like those progressive bands from the era, Yes, or
like Return to Forever or something.
No, but I mean like more like rock, progressive rock.
Okay, yeah.
Like Yes, or Camel or Renaissance.
Yeah.
So I was like, what is this? And then he told me, no, I'm playing this Baroque, this early music by, he was, the title was Ludovic's Fantasy.
Dude, you have officially the best memory of any guest to remember when you're 7, the title of.
Yeah, because that thing changed my life. That day, okay. I was like, first of all, it was not the usual finger. It was like this weird thing. I mean, the harmony like impacted me so much.
Yeah.
Yeah, I want to learn this. So I asked my parents to enroll me in the conservatory, and then I studied classical guitar for the whole career. I almost became a professional. I mean, I quit the last year. I didn't go to the final examination, the final test, because I was already messing around with the piano. I took my first gigs as a pianist, so that was a lot more fun.
Right.
I was like 17, 18. So I started traveling and taking gigs. So it's like, oh, later with the guitar. No, but the true reason is that after all those years, really studying guitar, I mean, I was a very committed student. And of course, I had the chance to dive into this music in this particular period of time.
Right.
Uh, I used to do my own tablature transcriptions from ancient tablatures.
Did you?
So it was so beautiful, but I realized that it was an absolute intellectual process. As soon as I mean, when I didn't have the music in front of me, I couldn't do anything with the instrument. It was really bizarre, yeah. And it's really messed up that it took me 9 years to figure that out.
Hey, let me tell you, if I tell you how much time I've wasted on stuff I should have bailed on, believe me, I think everybody like, and you look back, you're like, was I a glutton for punishment? What was the,
Well, the way I look at it, it enriched my life, of course.
Yeah,
musically, It was not a waste.
Yeah.
But in terms of the energy that I put into the instrument,
yeah,
sometimes I go like, I wish I could have used all this energy and applied to the piano from day one.
Yeah.
Because for all standards, I started piano quite late. So
at 17. Yeah.
I was like, I started messing with piano when I was like 15.
Yeah. So let me ask you this. Sorry, go ahead. I apologize. Go ahead.
No. So certain things you can only absorb and assimilate when you're young. I mean,
yeah.
When it comes to technique, for instance, having a pristine technique, clean technique, relaxation, all those issues are a lot better when you solve when your muscles are still developing than when you're already old.
Yeah.
You have all these bad habits, and it's much harder to.
Yeah, it's like someone wants to become Tiger Woods. You have to turn
or a gymnast.
Yeah,
after 30.
Yeah, right. It's not going to happen, man. Totally.
Yeah.
How were your parents? Because most doctors and academics are not 100% supportive of a music career. How were your folks with this?
Oh, well, first of all, my parents were absolutely, I want to use the word outside of the political context, not political. I mean, with a very progressive mind, very open-minded to everything, to put me in the space. They wanted to put me in the space where I could really develop whatever I wanted to develop.
Wow.
So that's why when I was a kid, I mean, I had very good talent for drawing, which, by the way, genetics are amazing, because my daughter became an artist, a graphic artist, without me ever telling her that.
Really?
That's how genes work,
That's crazy, man.
Yeah. So I had a good talent for drawing. So I just told him, I would like to try. And then, of course, boom. So our lessons, and see what happens with it, And then I told him, I would like, acting. I still make a lot of analogies between improvisation and acting. I think it's a very, very tight relationship between improvisation in acting, in drama, and improvisation in music that most musicians miss. And so I told them, I would like to study acting. Of course, boom, So they were always providing, and I also wanted to be a scientist, because that was my world, through my childhood. My parents, were always talking about biology and about, all the world around me, and So I went to university. I wanted to be a biologist. I studied biology for almost 4 years. I quit. I quit biology the same year I quit guitar.
So you just got totally sucked in by keyboards.
Yeah. At some point, I had this moment in which I realized, wow, I'm not only having fun playing piano, and I'm really, really fulfilling all the artistic stuff that I wanted to do through this instrument, but I'm also traveling the world and I'm getting money. So
yeah, that's so cool.
Yeah.
That's very rare, because I can tell you, after having so many interviews, when the parents are academics, professors, or physicians,
that's a common story. Yeah,
it's like, no, man, you need a degree, and it's very, very difficult, and a lot of it causes a rift.
I have to think, maybe, I have to acknowledge that probably they must have felt disappointed when I decided, because the guitar, I decided not to show up at the final test. It was the 9th year. I could have just gone to the test and got my certificate.
Right.
But I didn't. The same thing with biology. I was only one and a half years shy from graduating. And so, of course, they must have been disappointed. But I think what I wanted me to have was some kind of like a round education.
Sure.
Probably they wanted me to have like a fallback plan, like a
plan B, yeah.
Yeah. And that's something that every parent wants for their kids,
Sure.
Yeah.
Wow, that's cool, man. What a good story. That was good. Thank you for sharing that, man. That was awesome. So you switched to piano. How did you get started in the music business, and like, what was your first break on piano?
Okay, so I had my first little bands with my friends, and I started doing those heavy. That was the heavy disco years. And for a kid like me, well, I was too young to play in nightclubs, so my parents had to go to the Department of Labor and sign like a document that like authorizing me to to work in basically very questionable places, like a lot of cabarets and clubs and stuff. But those were the heavy disco years, and we had this huge, like perhaps one of the biggest discotheques in Latin America. Again, it was the bonanza years, so it was like a multi-story disco, like. And I said, man, we have to get a band and start playing here. That was like the Mecca.
This is in Caracas.
So, in Caracas, yeah. And then I had my first disco band with my friends, and sure enough, we got the gig. We got the gig to play in this mega disco, and we were like super successful and blah blah blah. And then that was my world, just top 40 stuff,
right?
And I really loved it. I didn't even know what jazz was, and at some point, one of my friends in the band laid on me this Chick Corea tape from it was Spain and La Fiesta.
Okay.
And I had never in my life heard anybody improvising like that, or playing that kind of music. What is this, And that, again, that's the day that things shifted again, because I realized, wow, if I want to understand this, I have to pretty much, stop this whole disco thing and then get serious in learning some harmony, And so it was very hard to have instruction in popular music, because in Venezuela at that point there were no institutes to learn popular music. It was just academic, classical music. So I took some lessons here and there from people that were just arriving freshly graduated from Berkeley, and they were returning. And then, I got some lessons. And at one point, my drummer from the disco band got a call to play in a commercial with perhaps the most famous and most successful jingle producer in Venezuela at the time. And that night, I slept over in his place because we had like a late night, and then I stayed in his place. And then I was like, gee, man, you got this call to this commercial, man. That's like arriving. That's like,
yeah.
Ah, man. So, and the studio was like just a few blocks from his place. So I said, do you mind if I go with you? He said, oh, no, sure. I mean, I wanted to celebrate my friend. And then I go, and of course, I met the cream of the musicians at Caracas at the time. And the producer asked me, so you are the one that plays piano. So you want to play? You want to play in this commercial? I said, yeah, sure, and that was it. I mean, that guy became my mentor, and later with years, I mean, I have to tell you this. During this time, jingle work was a daily thing.
Oh, people made careers, very good money on jingles.
Yes, it was. I mean, I remember when I arrived in the United States, the people that I know that do jingles, they would talk about, oh yeah, I do a jingle like weekly, or every 2 weeks I do a jingle, and I go like, oh really? Okay, well, we used to do it daily, like and 2 or 3 jingles daily. It was like a really huge market. So this guy became my mentor. And years later, we became partners because he wanted to. He was making so much money. He wanted to retire when he was like 40 years old.
Holy!
And I told him, he's like, "What? Why don't you keep the business open and I'll take care of it?" And then he said, "Okay, let's be partners." So I became his partner. I used to write the jingles, and that's how I could save money to come to the United States.
Holy cow! And if I always like hearing this because you created. And this always happens. You created that opportunity by asking your buddy, hey, man, can I come down there with you? Because you were enthusiastic.
Yeah.
You weren't like looking for something.
I had never seen a professional music studio in my life.
Right. You wanted to see the studio. You were happy for him. You were like excited about the whole thing. Like, holy shit, you're doing jingles, man. That's like big time. I'd love to see that.
Yeah.
That's so. And he comes and says, hey, do you want to play piano? How cool is that, man? Good story, man. What a great story.
Yeah, but also, it takes someone like my friend, like my partner, to give the opportunity to this young kid.
Sure.
That wouldn't happen too often. Actually, that doesn't happen too often. That a producer will go like, "Oh, you play piano? You want to play in this jingle?" I mean, we're talking a lot of money invested in this. There's clients there. So he pretty much trusted me. He said, "Oh, you've been playing with this and this and this. Oh yeah, okay." So I guess he could trust my abilities at the time.
Yeah, but look, man, you play 16 bars. He knows, did he make a right decision or not? It's not like he's got to spend 3 hours listening to you playing.
And of course, as I usually say, the first call, I never put the first call in my resume. I put the entry when I get the second call.
Yeah,
that's when I write it in my resume.
I hear you, man. Yeah, that's a great story. So then so then what happened? What made you come to the States? What was the trigger?
Okay, the trigger was that jingle production can become it's very lucrative.
Yeah.
But it can really become a creative trap. I take that back. You can be as creative as you want, because especially during that time, some of the best music ever produced in my country were jingles, not records. It's amazing. The best composers were doing jingles, not records. So, but you can become like really comfortable because there's a lot of money
Yeah.
being made. And I was probably 23, and I was making a lot of money. And
Holy cow.
I had like this office in the most exclusive office building, and you know, so I thought, okay, if I stay here in just a few years, I'm just gonna be this is gonna become like a desk job.
Yeah, you'd be doing the same thing every day.
Probably I'm gonna have another writer. I would be like my friend.
Yeah.
I would have someone writing for me.
Right.
And I would be behind a desk just making money. And I felt like terrible. It's like, no, I'm just 23. What am I gonna do? You know, it's like, and then I realized, well, the ceiling, I had reached that ceiling in Caracas.
Yeah.
And I was playing with all the jazz people. I was playing with all the rock people. I was playing with all the recording singers, you know, pop, whatever. So I decided to come to a place where I could first finish my degrees, have like a final degree. I never got the guitar certificate, and where I could continue growing. And that's it. I mean, people told me I was crazy, you know, leaving everything behind. But, you know, believe me, I would never regret. You know, I came to Los Angeles, and here I got, I mean, God knows I got what I wanted.
Yeah.
I got my ass kicked every day, you know?
Yeah. Did you know anybody here? Like, or you just like, did you know anybody in LA? What like?
I only knew, I had the choice of going to Miami, in which obviously there's a lot of Venezuelans in Miami, and but I didn't have the university didn't offer financial aid, and
really, to somebody of your caliber, that's weird.
Yeah, I didn't find the right
at U of M, University of Miami.
Yeah, and and I had the possibility of going to New York, and I realized that New York is quite overwhelming place.
Yeah, it's
and then I came to Los Angeles, and the weather did the trick.
Yeah, I'm sure.
But also I knew Jeff Berlin.
Okay.
Because we had done a record in Caracas in '87. We did a record there. And we became good friends up to today, you know. And also I had done a tour with a singer, with a Latin American singer that used a lot of American talent in his band.
Okay.
And the background vocalists kept calling me, say, Otmaro, you have to come to LA. You have to come to LA. You have to come to LA. And at some point, I don't know if this was true or not, one of them told me, there's a band called Rippingtons, and they are auditioning for a new keyboard player. You have to come. And that's when I said, like, okay, this is perfect. Boom, boom. And I came.
Wow.
And then, but they had already found somebody. So I never found out if there was an exaggeration or not.
Oh, but they might have just been telling you this to get your friends to get you over there.
Hey, but anyway, I was already here, so
yeah, that's cool. What was big cultural like differences between Caracas and LA that you had to like get adjusted to?
Well, I still remember I was dizzy. I was dizzy for a long time. I was actually concerned. It's like, is this normal? They told me, no, it's called cultural shock.
Yeah.
I don't think so. I don't know. I mean, but I was overwhelmed by the fact that my English was okay. I mean, it was my high school English, but so I had to, every time that I got a class, for instance, at the university, when I had to take one of those heavy topics like sociology or philosophy.
Yeah.
I mean, studying philosophy in
a foreign language is like
in a second language. You have to. So I
It's
was
very tough.
absolutely overwhelmed for a long time. I was like dizzy because I would go to class. Excuse me. I would go to class, and then I had to record the whole class on a mini tape
Yeah.
recorder, and then go to the library and listen again, the whole thing. And then, yeah, so it was quite overwhelming. But
where was this?
perhaps
What school were you going to there?
this is CalArts.
Okay.
California
CalArts.
Institute
Yep.
of the Arts. And but basically the big difference in the way of doing things is the what would be the word, the discipline when it comes to doing something like in a studio setting. Everything is like, once we pass the greetings, hi guys, how are you? Okay, let's work. It took me a while to get used to that.
Real, and Caracas was more laid back.
Oh man, it's really laid back. I mean, you go to a recording in Caracas, and if they tell you that the session starts at 3, by 4:30 you are still telling jokes.
Really?
Yeah.
Holy shit! But
now
are you
used
getting
to be
paid?
my experience.
Are they? Is they?
Yeah, they're paying you. They're paying you still.
Wow.
But it was that relaxed. It was very relaxed.
Wow.
It's like, oh, and then it's, oh, let's order some coffee. Oh, coffee. So coffee break. Oh, remember this thing about, and then it's like, man, I even so here for the first time, it's like, we are here to record, and then just get this done, and then after that we can have fun, so that was a big adjustment.
Interesting. But you obviously have a good work ethic, so the work wasn't it was just the whole environment was I could see you being unsure of yourself in that.
Also an issue, the big issue with punctuality. Here when they tell you the session starts at 3, it doesn't mean that you arrive at the studio at 3. It means that you have to be at the studio at 2:30 already.
Yeah.
With your setup running, so that at 3 you can play the first note.
Yeah.
In my, I was not used to that. I was
used
to arriving at 3 and then started setting up and then telling a few jokes and then the coffee.
That's wild, man. That's totally different.
That's laid back, quintessential Latin American laid back.
Yeah. Wow,
procedure.
That's wild. That's cool, man. Thank you. That was an interesting story. I had not heard something like that. That was great. So I'm assuming one session and you're like, you got with the program right away. You don't need more.
Oh, yeah. Plus, to be completely honest, that's exactly why I wanted to be here, because I wanted to do things right.
Yeah. I totally get that. That's a cool story, man. So once you got here, how did you start developing your career as a session player, and like what were the challenges that you faced in doing that?
I usually tell the story of how I created my first strong and meaningful work relationship here in the United States, and it's like very much like a Cinderella story. It has to do with being at the right place at the right time, as people say. And in my case, the day I arrived, my roommate, which is a super flute player, perhaps one of the greatest flute players in the world right now, his name is Pedro Eustache. He was receiving his degree that day.
Okay.
He was playing his graduation concert that day. I don't know if it was that day or the day after, but basically I arrived from the airport. He picked me up. We went to the apartment and got me set up and said, you know what, you want to leave your luggage here. I have to go to the institute and I have to get my recital going. So I remember that it was like that same night or the day after, something like really, really quick, after I arrived. And then, I was there and I had nothing else to do. I went to his recital, and he was playing with Alex Acuna. Alex Acuna was playing in his band for this recital. And they were playing one of my pieces, one of my compositions.
Get out of here.
Yeah. So
that was something your roommate picked out to play?
Yeah, he picked one of my compositions to play at his recital.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah. So
it's pretty flattering. Yeah.
Yeah, and I went. I was there in the audience, and the guy that was playing the piano, which later became my instructor at CalArts, his name is David Roystein. He invited me. He said, "Yeah, well, the composer's here in the audience. So
oh, that's cool.
Why don't you play your own tune?" So again, he was gracious to invite me, and I played with Alex Acuna for the first time, And then when we finished the concert, Alex told me, "Wow, that was so cool. I love your tune, man. You know what? I'm looking for a keyboard player. You want to play my band?"
Holy crap. You couldn't have scripted that any better, man.
Yeah, it was just like that.
Oh my God. That is so crazy, man.
Yeah.
How did you know your roommate prior to getting there?
Okay, because he was my flute player in my jingles when I produced jingles.
Oh, and so he came to LA, and
he came
was
to LA
another
first.
guy.
We decided to come to LA together.
Oh, okay.
Because he's the one who we did the research. We went to Miami together. We went to New York together. Our parents knew each other even before we were friends. We were born even before we were born.
That's cool.
Because they were also doctors, so we had all these things in common. So, and he's stellar flute player. So he came to LA first, and he got this apartment set up, whatever, and so he knew.
Holy shit! That is like. Okay, so let me ask you a question. When things like that have happened to you, right? How do you look at that as like serendipity, a God thing, or like just random luck? How do you view things like that? Because I think we've all had a couple of things like that in our life happen, where the dots connected unexpectedly, or even undeservedly, or unlikely.
Yeah. Well, I wouldn't. That's a tough one because as spiritual as we might want to be, I think we're such a small thing in the universe to expect God to be interceding for us. I totally. At that moment.
Everybody has a different viewpoint. I'm always just curious.
Yeah. No. I mean, I think it's you could say is God sent. Why not?
Yeah.
The universe works in very strange ways, and I have a million stories like that of things that truly were like a before and after in my career.
Yeah.
That happened just like that.
Right.
And I tell people, talent, when you have talent and knowledge, that doesn't necessarily create the opportunity.
Not at all, actually.
The opportunity comes from where you least expect it. What talent and knowledge are going to do for you is be able to keep it. Keep it going.
That opens the door, but you got to be in traffic.
Yeah.
You have to put yourself in traffic, and people aren't waiting like to knock down your door. You had to go to that recital. You had to, meet with the guy who gave you the opportunity to play with the jingles. You asked to go there. You put yourself in traffic, and you have to get out and put your. But I also think you have to be to me, the people I've met that are successful, whether it's in business or in music, they were also doing sort of what the universe wanted. They were following something here. That has to happen.
Yeah.
I think
it's hard to put a name on that, but the one thing that I can be absolutely sure is that it's not in me to be the guy that goes, hey, check me out. I mean,
right.
That day that I went to that studio, I didn't want to tell the guy, hey, look at me, I can play piano. It's not me. I'm not like that. And I suffer the consequences of being such a lame business person, by the way, you know. But what I'm good at is that, you know, just once their opportunity is offered, I take it.
Yeah, you're prepared.
Yeah, because you know, I know if I can hold it or not. As I was telling you about the producing, you know, if I want to take a production work, for instance, I have to know if I want to if I can really bring something meaningful to this whole thing. If not, I would rather not get involved.
Sure, totally makes sense.
That's where I'm good at, but I'm not good at calling people saying, "Hey, you have to hire me because I'm amazing." You say, "Oh my God, I would rather die."
You know what though? Most people, most musicians, and the most talented musicians are not like that.
Yeah.
And I can just say my experience, and I think the population I've spoken to now is big enough of like 850 people. That's a good sample. Most of the most talented musicians are not. In fact, there's very few arrogance. I have seen very little arrogance, you know, and then when you see it, it's like, whoa, it's like so overwhelming. It's like, I'm allergic to that, man.
And the truth is that the problem is that sometimes it has nothing to do with arrogance as it is with, well, I mean, some people would say, no, I mean, I was told when I arrived in LA, one of those big names that I was playing with told me, here, you have to learn to talk about yourself. That's something that I never did. I don't know. I don't know how to do that. You know.
Yeah.
And my father kept telling me, "No, you never talk about yourself." Well, all my life, they've been telling me the contrary. He says, "You never talk about yourself. You always let people do the talk." You know. Yeah. But if you are someone, you don't need to be arrogant. But if you're told, these are new times, you have to learn how to market yourself, how to tell people, here, this is what I. So that still would give you that edge that is kind of borderline arrogant when you have to sell yourself and say, hey, I can, you know. But, you know, it's kind of like a gray area right there, you know. And I'm still not very good at that.
Well, I mean, I'm assuming you're talking about like today with social media.
Social media just exaggerated everything, magnified everything.
But I think, okay, my personal opinion is the guys that are selling themselves on social media are doing it with the intent of letting others know, hey, I'm here. I don't think gigs come from that. My opinion. I don't think. I think people that don't know any better think, wow, man, this guy's all over. He's doing this, that, the other thing. But I don't know how many gigs come from that. I haven't heard anybody. I think one person told me a story about they heard me on social media. No, the only story was that guy that it was a TV show. It was the singer from the Philippines for Journey. That's the only story. And that's like, you know, that was a really weird situation. But I haven't heard any musician say, yeah, man, someone heard my video on Instagram and hired me in their band. No, they'll hire me for lessons or whatever, but not
like the actual gigs.
Yeah, you get gigs from referrals.
Yeah,
you know, from showing up at a thing and the guy says, hey, can you play this? And then you do.
Yeah, but what social media also has done is that it has removed a little bit of that last filter that we all had.
Yeah.
That decorum. And it became like a open hunting season, you know, so a friend of mine said that social media turned us all in promosexuals.
Promosexuals, yeah, that's
Yeah,
a good one.
because you would see people that otherwise, I mean, the what used to be like kind of like a regular practice in promotion, now it's twice or three times more aggressive.
Oh, it's very aggressive.
Yeah, so you would say, and this is one of my personal pet peeves, you know, people that when someone dies.
Oh, I know where you're going with this. Go ahead.
Oh yeah,
I feel
someone
the same
dies,
way.
and then, you know, it's like, oh,
this one's really heavy.
Such and such died. He was such a special person because he's the one who told me how special I am, and he's the one that gave me all the gigs that I've tried, and maybe they gave me the opportunity to travel the whole world. So it's like the whole thing becomes about themselves, not the
no, it's not
not the dead guy.
It's so funny, man. It is a bit of a pet peeve of mine. Not a pet peeve. I just don't get it. It's like when someone dies, like, oh, this one's really tough. It's almost, what, did you know Prince? I mean, I know you're upset, and I'm not uncompassionate, but I don't get that. I don't get that either. I don't know, man.
Yeah. I've seen people saying, you know, this guy, I will never forget this guy because he's the one who told me how amazing I am.
So it becomes about me, right?
It's like, what?
Yeah. I know. It's
but another thing that I'm convinced that, I mean, I gave this, I mean, unsolicited piece of advice to a friend of mine that used to like so many thousands of musicians nowadays, he keeps posting videos of himself playing by himself from his living room. This is before the pandemic.
Yeah.
Now during the pandemic, everybody's doing that. You know, we're confined. But before the pandemic, it was always the video. Oh, here I am doing this. You know, and then I told him, listen, you are always in the living room of your house. What message are you sending out there?
Yeah.
You know, if you are always posting videos where you're playing by yourself in the living room of your house, it's like there's something wrong with this guy. I mean, he's not playing with anybody.
If he's a professional musician, that's very good advice, actually. Did he listen to you?
You know. Yes.
Oh,
yes.
That's good.
He's an amazing keyboard player. But
that's awesome.
But I had to intercede for a second because I knew it would be like a little trap, you know. It's easy to fall in that trap of check me out, check what I'm doing, but it's like, check what you're doing, but by yourself, you know.
Yeah.
Where are the people that are going to corroborate this, that are going to, you know.
Yeah. You get legitimatized when you're playing with guys like you, Jimmy Haslett. That you see someone doing that, you're like, oh, this guy's the real deal, you know. Or just playing with other people and making good music, you know. I totally
playing with other people, you know, just applying it in a real life situation. You know?
Yeah, that's very good advice.
It doesn't have to be,
little deviation there. Yeah, but I have the same thing with social media. So I'm going to ask you about some artists you've worked with, and if you could tell me a story about how you wound up connecting with them, and any kind of cool or interesting story about your experience working with them. Guy I had here on this show, guy filled with energy, Simon Phillips and Protocol.
Simon Phillips. I've known Simon for quite a long time. We did some playing here in LA, like in some clubs, you know, the usual jazz clubs. Always a sideman, you know. But the one thing that I remember is that when I arrived to the club for the first time, his drums took like 3/4 of the stage because he has this massive setup, and he was using this cage kind of like structure to. It's like, wow. So, but he's such an amazing guy. He's a super well-rounded musician. You know, people might only know him as a power drummer, but he's got like such a strong background in jazz, and as a composer, every note that we have played, every note that we play with his band, it comes from his head, and he writes them down himself. It's
Wow.
not, so it's all his fruit.
Yeah.
And it's super challenging music, perhaps
It's incredible.
some of the most challenging music I've played in a long time. And I got that the notice. I mean, he was looking for a keyboard player, and my friend Adrian Ferrod, bass player, he's the one who called me and said, "Listen, Simon is looking for a keyboard player. Just give him a call right now." So
you picked up the phone, and that was it.
Yeah,
that's cool, man. That's cool. Any cool stories about working with him, or any gigs, or funny things, or?
Listen, he's he's a super nice guy to work with. Perhaps one of the, I admire he's a total professional on and off stage.
Yeah.
And that's one of the things that I admire, because some guys are such great players, but then when they're off stage, they're a total mess. He's not. He's always, so when we're like, in transit to another town, sometimes, the whole band, we're in the van all like passed out, like with exhaustion. And then I open my eyes and he's always on his computer, like getting something set up for the next town or something. And it's like, he's always on. So that's one of the things that I always remember about working with him. So everything, he's taking care of everything. And one of the the things that most people don't know about him is that he has two alternate passions besides music. Car racing, which when you are driving in the German autobahn,
oh my God,
and he's driving, it can be a little.
Holy.
But he's perhaps one of those guys that I drive with, that I feel completely confident that he's under control, because he knows cars so much. He knows how his driving skills are so good that after the first long trip, I went like, okay, I can fall asleep, and I know this guy is gonna be in control. Plus, he loves driving.
He mentioned that when he was on here. Yeah, he had a whole.
I mean, I hate driving. I mean, that's perhaps the thing that makes living in LA a torture for me, is that LA, everything is by driving. And this is a guy that he totally loves driving. So he was like interesting. And the other thing is that he's passionate about cappuccinos. He's a truly cappuccino connoisseur. And he's like into baristas and machines and the whole thing. So wherever we go, that the morning after, there's a date. A band. I mean, summoning all the band. We're gonna have cappuccinos. He researched the best place for cappuccinos wherever it is.
That's funny, man. He talked about both those things, actually. He knows all these brands, and he gave me a vendor in Buffalo, New York. He goes, "You got to buy everything there." He was like, his memory, I couldn't believe the guy's memory. Like, he remembered the name of like the digital machines he was working on at 20 or something on the recording. I was amazed. Tito Puente, the king of Latin music.
Oh man, Tito. With Tito, we did a tour called Latin Crossings, which also I have very fond memories of that tour. It was a project with three leaders: Arturo Sandoval, Tito Puente, and Steve Winwood.
Oh, wow.
Actually, it was Latin Crossings or Latin Traffic, because he had like the word traffic because of Steve Winwood. Well, the fact is that we would play tunes, material from all three leaders.
That's cool.
Super fun. Music, because we found a way to fusion all all those different aesthetics and do like a cohesive show. But Tito is one of the things that I still remember, which I find I was so, it was so funny when I found out. But then I realized this is what makes what makes him such an amazing entertainer. Is when I don't know if you have ever seen Tito.
I've not
live. You
No.
know, he used to be very interactive with the audience. You know, he's playing and then it's like having fun with the audience, like at the front row, and it's like pointing at people, hey, you, hey, you know, whatever, you know, and people love that, right?
Yeah, of course.
And then he does this weird gesture, and then you know, he smirks at somebody, you know. So it's like a super entertainer, you know. And then there we are doing our first sound check of the tour. There's nothing, there's nobody in the theater, in the auditorium, and he's doing the same.
Oh, so he's practicing.
He's practicing the gesturing. He's practicing the way he's gonna address the guy in the front row.
Wow.
He's practicing the gesture and I was like, what is he doing? He's even like, he's got like this like thing, you know, it's like in character.
That's wild. That's really interesting.
Yeah. And I of course at the beginning I went like, what is wrong with this guy? And then I realized this guy will always give you a kick-ass, solid, consistent show.
Yeah.
He practiced every detail of it.
That is,
so he's finding out what are the best sides from the audience, from the stage, the best sides to address people.
that's commitment, man. That's like desire to serve, man. That's really impressive.
That was really cool.
Yeah. Wow. I remember the guy's name. Benny Facconi was the engineer. Did you work with him on any of those?
Benny, yes.
Yeah. Okay. I had I figured because he's so.
Yeah, you know, he does a lot of work.
Yeah. John McLaughlin.
John McLaughlin. Oh wow, that's another moment of before and after in my life as a musician. Okay, I'll tell you what I remember. It's been 24 years since I did that. I met John McLaughlin at Montreal Jazz Festival. I was playing with Dianne Reeves, and then after our set, we went to a club. You know, I don't know if you've ever been at Montreal Jazz Festival, but the whole city becomes the grounds for the festival. So every little club has amazing music, and there's celebrations in the streets and vendors and stuff. So after our set, we went to this club, and then I met John. And I was a very good friend of his road manager because he had worked also with Dianne Reeves at some point. And his manager at the time knew my job with Dianne. You know? So at some point, Jim Beard, which is perhaps one of my greatest idols, keyboard players and programmers, he had to bail in the middle of a tour. And there was a big leg of the tour still left. And that included a live recording.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And John was going crazy. I mean, imagine. I mean, he was in the air, you know. So Freddie, his road manager, told him, man, you should call Otmaro. You just met him in Montreal. and he plays with Dianne Reeves. He's like that, like this, you know, the styles. He can do this, that. And then his manager also taught him, yeah, man, Otmaro, I mean, we just met him. And then he reminded him that we were in France too at one point, you know. He's like, oh, yeah, right. Okay, cool. So he called me, and I thought it was somebody, you know,
joking, pranking you?
Joking, yeah, pulling my leg, you know. So I said, no, it's John, you know, I want you to see if you would like to come on tour with me. He's like, of course. And he said, you know, there's a tour, it's a whole tour, a couple of months, like solid. And then at the end, we're going to record our last concerts. We're going to make an album. And I was like,
God, what really a great situation to step
into.
But
yeah, I was really scared because it's perhaps the hardest music I've ever played in my life.
Yeah.
And then I said, but yeah, let's do it, you know. So the thing is that he had been playing this material. He had developed this material with Jim and his band over a long time. So he didn't have dedicated charts. He didn't have charts of this music. And the music was extremely hard.
Yeah.
And then I thought, man, I need some kind of reference. I mean, there's no way I can get this from the album because it was so complex. And Dennis Chambers is playing all over the place.
Oh my God.
There was no reference. I didn't have any reference of the odd meters or where the downbeats, where it was like displacements all over the place. And I was really scared. I was like, oh my God, we're gonna be like, I'll have to leave in 2 weeks and I still don't have any charts. And it's a lot of music to learn. And I have to program the sounds. And I was like, so he sent me one of those DAT cassettes.
Yep.
Digital these are some live shows, so you have an idea of how it is live. How do we do it live? And that was even worse because when you play live, you are even more free and you change things. It's like, so now I had to hold references that I didn't understand. I was really, really going. I mean, I was like about to bail. I was like, I cannot do this, you know. Plus, I wanted to do a good job programming the sounds because Jim, besides being an amazing keyboardist, he's a terrific programmer. All the sounds were so organic and so beautiful. So I wanted to do a good job there too.
Is there any way you could get his sounds?
No.
There's no like programs transferable? No,
because I would have needed to use exactly the same machines that he had.
Okay.
Yeah, so I had to program that whole album, all those tunes, and I had to do the same program, the same sounds applied to different machines too, because because sometimes you request having a specific synth, and then you get to a place and they say, "Oh, we didn't have this synth, but we have this other one." So
okay,
it's not good. It's not good. I have to program the thing again in this other one. So I would do several banks of kind of similar sounds in different machines, expecting that one of them will be available.
Right.
It was really, really, really stressful. But so 2 weeks before the actual departing, I told John, listen, I don't understand. I mean, I don't even know where to start.
Right. That's there's no systematic path here.
With only the audio, it was impossible. So she said, okay, this is 1998. So all the computer notation apps were like this is the prehistory of music notation. So he said, okay, I have some logic sequences that I can notate. The early demos from the early demos. So I said, okay, send me whatever you have.
Yeah.
So he sent me this notation from Logic. And then when you program something, if you don't quantize it, the chart reflects whatever you input. So the rhythms were all over the place.
Oh my God.
They were not, but at least I knew the voicings.
So there was no time signatures, just no.
Well, there were time signatures, but I mean, if you play a little late, that's exactly how it notates it.
Okay.
So there was like a rest, like a 30-second rest, and then a bunch of 30-second notes like tied. It was horrible. It was like really horrible. And but at least I knew the notes.
Yeah.
So I had to do audio, and then I had the notes, and then I would put together the both in my head. I had to put both.
That's a lot of time. How did, and then you had to put structured chords and figured chord changes, which is limited because you're not getting all the notes.
Yeah. So it was really, really, really stressful. And then so I took the flight. We were gonna meet in Monaco, which is where John lives. And then
oh my God,
we arrived in Monaco, and they said, yeah, okay, good. We have tomorrow we have the rehearsal. The rehearsal.
Yeah.
I went like, what?
Yeah.
Yes, yeah, because the day after tomorrow we have TV. We are going to play on TV.
Oh my God. Because you weren't stressed out enough at that point. Yeah, man.
Yeah, so we had one rehearsal. And then the day after, we were on German TV, which is the only video document that exists from that tour, by the way.
What I was going to ask you, what was that tour called? Because I'd love to, and what was the album called? Because we could hear you on the record.
The album was called The Heart of Things. And and that video document, the only clip that survived is from the Leverkusen jazz stage. There's only one clip available in social media that I could find on YouTube. But I remember that they, I've been trying to figure out how to get a hold on the entire document because it's the only thing that survived.
That's is it Leverkusen?
Leverkusen.
Great, thanks, man. I'd love to check that out.
In '98.
So how did that? So what happened? So you have the one rehearsal. How did it go?
It was great. It was great because they also came from a long break.
Okay.
So it took. They were still trying to remember how did. So I kind of like tag along in that in that process of remembering how it was. So it was good for me, you know.
Yeah.
It's not like they were like ready for me, like waiting for me to get my stuff together.
Yeah.
They were all trying to remember how it was. So it's like, okay, I'm not the only one. So I had the notes. So it worked out.
So you were involved almost in the planning process just as much as the learning process.
Yes.
And that's great.
The most amazing thing is the only person that remembered exactly how everything was with fine detail was Dennis Chambers.
Wow. He's a hell of a drummer, man.
But his memory is like
that's cool, man.
Hard disk.
Wow. Holy smokes. I'm going to definitely check that out, man. And it turned out to be a good experience for you then.
It was like, you know, one of the most memorable things I've ever done in my life. Not only from the musical standpoint, but getting to know John, which is, you know, he was a total gentleman with the band and with me. I mean, I was the new guy, and he treated me with so much respect. I was a kid, and still I got so much respect from him. And the hang in the tour bus and getting to know his human side and, you know him as a friend, you know, that was precious.
That's awesome, man. Thank you. Good story. Any other gigs that you'd like to chat about that you have like a special place in your heart for you or good memories?
Man, I'm gonna sound like a Mr. Cliche, but every gig I've ever done is truly special because I will always find something to learn from every gig that I do. Something to learn, even if it is not of musical nature. Ideally, it will be something that helps my musical growth. But you can learn from so many other things. You can learn things about the business. You can learn things about other aspects of what I do. For instance, I did a gig with Robbie Robertson.
Which wow.
Yeah, we did a tour when he released an album called The Red Road Ensemble, I think it was called.
How did you get that gig? Because that's totally like, I would not have expected you to say you did a gig with Robbie Robertson.
Yeah, it was. I was referred to. He was. The Red Road Ensemble was this album he did, so of course, celebrating his Native American heritage. But the ensemble was all, most like 90% of the ensemble were Native American musicians or people that fit the part.
Yeah, yeah.
And then hence
they said, "Oh, he's a little brown." Check.
Yeah, yeah, like politically correctness time.
Got a lot of hair. Check.
Yeah, and I had long hair. I had the long hair.
It's so funny, man.
Bandana, apply bandana. Yes, you are the guy.
It's so funny, man.
No, I mean, I got the call from friends that knew that because I used to play a lot of rock when I started, and progressive rock, yeah. So I love all that. But I took the gig when I was already supposedly the jazz guy.
Yeah.
So many of my friends told me, you're gonna get so bored. There's nothing for you to play there.
He's a really good composer, though, man.
He's great. The music is great, and the vibe. So, of course, it's not about this. It's about getting the right vibe.
Yeah.
And that, I keep telling jazz musicians, sometimes they get so in their heads, and it became so much mathematics and pyrotechnics that they lose connection with the vibe, what makes music really move. And then I took that gig, and I realized, wow, I'm playing like one chord per minute. But I had to program the sounds. Again, this is before John McLaughlin. So that served as a preparation for the John McLaughlin thing.
Yeah, because with the programming.
I had to program so many sounds for that show. And it's the first time in my life that I actually programmed a mapping of an entire show in one single keyboard.
Okay, that's a lot of work.
Yeah, so I had to, I had multiple keyboards, but the mother keyboard, I had all the mappings, all the sounds already automated. So one button, one push, and then everything would reconfigure. I had never done that in my life, so I learned that during that tour. So
and it totally prepped. If you hadn't done that McLaughlin tour might not have been able to happen.
Yeah. Totally.
Wow, it's funny. It's just that I think, again, not to keep getting out there, but when you're doing the right thing, what you're supposed to be doing, like universally wise, whatever, I think that's how it goes. Things fall into place naturally. You don't have to push. You don't have to be willful. When you're doing what you're supposed to do, it just happens.
Yeah. You have to understand what are the boundaries of what you can effectively do. Like wishful thinking sometimes takes you just so far.
Yeah, man.
So you have to be able to support and to back up what you're offering.
Sure.
So I had the gear, and I said, well, I have had this gear that should do this, I've never done it, so this is perfect time to learn how to use this gear I've had in my garage. You know?
That's so cool, man.
Yeah, which is, you know, not the same as, you know, when people that take the gig without really knowing what they're getting into and then faking it, you know, I would.
Well, you don't get back. You don't get called back, and nothing.
Yeah, you don't get the call back. Yeah,
and nothing good is going to come from that because someone's going to say, "Hey, I saw so and so playing with you. Should I hire him?" They'll be like, "Probably not, man." And here's why. Yeah. I mean, it's, you know, that's cool, man. How did you connect with Jimmy? Was it from Jing Chi?
No, well, Jimmy. I remember meeting Jimmy and Russell Ferrante, which are some of my most revered musicians in the universe, but also very good friends. I met them when I was playing with Arturo Sandoval in 94, perhaps 94, 95. And we did several festivals. We ran into several festivals that year.
Oh, Yellow Jackets were playing.
Well, yeah, they were playing with Yellow Jackets, and I was with Arturo. We would share the stage, or at some point, you know. So we you know, run into each other, and you know, hi, how are you, man? I love your play. I mean, me to them, not them to you, to me to them, man. I love your play, man. You know, whatever. Yeah. So we became good friends. And the next thing in 95, I get a call from Gino Vannelli. Which is another of those idols all my life. You know, it's like that was my dream gig.
That record he had that Jimmy played on, that's a
musician. Yeah, brother to brother. Yeah. I mean,
the musicianship on that is,
can't tell you how many times I played those albums. You know, they were like constant rotation.
Yeah.
But I got a call. I was on tour with Arturo. I was in London, and then Gino called me directly to my room. And this is Gino Vannelli. And again, I thought there was someone pulling my leg. He's like, no, it's true. You know, he's like, what? So he told me, I've been auditioning over like hundreds of guys to fill this chair for my next tour. I'm looking for a pianist. And it was funny because throughout all my reference from Gino have been this super big sound, like orchestral synth, progressive polyphonic synth sound. And in this time, he was looking for a pianist. I need someone to play piano, just piano, for a band, for a tour. He supported an album called Yonder Tree, which was a let's see. Well, no, it was like a small format jazz, like coming back to his jazz thing. No. It was beautiful. It was beautiful. Imagining his voice supported with such a minimalistic combination of musicians. So he was looking for a piano player, and he told me, man, I've been auditioning like hundreds of guys. And Russell Ferrante and Jimmy Haslip told me that I should contact you directly and that you are the guy. So you don't need to audition.
Wow. That's pretty freaking cool.
That's freaking cool. But that's also, I mean, Russell and Jimmy took a leap of faith.
Right.
Without really knowing me personally.
Yeah, but you know, you can tell. You see somebody on the stage. I mean, like, you know, first of all, you can tell right away, is someone a drug addict or something, whether they have some substance issues. You didn't have that. I'm sure you didn't come across like that. They heard you're playing, right? I mean,
So
you're playing with Arturo Sandoval. It's not like you're with this first year grad student on on trumpet. You're Arturo Sandoval.
Yeah. So basically, the gig was there. You want to do the gig?
So cool.
You don't have to. So it was the end of the tour with Arturo, and it was perfect timing. I said, from Arturo, I went straight to Oregon, to Portland, to rehearse.
That's so cool, man.
Yeah. So after that, that's when Russell and Jimmy basically are responsible for this big push in my career. Yeah.
Did other gigs come from that as well?
Well, after Gino, I guess, at some point, in some degree or another, people know the reference, of my job with Gino, and I was already working with Dianne Reeves, so I guess people got a good feel of that I could do this, like the instrumental stuff, but they also knew that I enjoy playing with singers, singers, and of different styles, so very distinctive style. Robbie, in that little span of time, Robbie Robertson, Gino Vannelli, and Dianne Reeves, three total different.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. Was there guitar on that Yonder Tree tour or record supported? No,
it was drums, acoustic bass, vibraphone, saxophone, and piano.
Okay.
Yeah, very elegant. I would recommend it.
I'm gonna check it out.
Yeah, that recording is beautiful.
Low points, Otmaro. What were some low points or dark periods that you've had to deal with in life, and how'd you get through them?
As artists, we are at a constant low point.
Yeah, ain't that the truth?
We are plagued with self-doubt and with the realization that what we're trying to do will never be fully accomplished. That is something that is like, it's like witnessing God or something. It's like you cannot even see the whole thing,
Yeah.
So music is so endless and so full of possibilities, and there's no, without wanting to be negative, because I don't think it's being negative. It's just realizing the true magnitude of what music is. You never really scratch the surface of what you could have done.
Yeah.
Even in your best gig.
Yeah.
You come out of stage and you go like, wow, I could have done so many different things, and still so many things I don't understand. And you hear somebody playing that same gig after or before, and you go like, why? What is he doing? There's always something you want to learn.
Yeah.
So that is always keeps you. In my case, it keeps me grounded. I've never had now we're going for the lowest of all low points, which is like there's no jobs for musicians, and realizing that we are in this, in the hierarchy of things, we are the last.
Yeah.
Everything will open, and then perhaps music will open.
It's a real crazy time. I mean, there's no frame of reference for how to handle this. It's nuts.
Yeah. So that's a low point. Now, we have a friend of I talk almost daily with this friend of mine in New York, because he's got a great sense of humor, and we are kings at self-deprecation, and we're always comparing like funny or terrible gigs that we do.
Right.
And I mean, there's a million of those. I mean, I've done gigs in which I truly go like, what am I doing here? You know, like actually, I was planning on writing a little
memoir,
a little book of funny things that because I've been through some really funny moments.
Tell me one or two of them.
But you know, I've been in a situation in which I'm offer a gig. It's like, well, this many years ago. You know, they asked me we need a piano player that can play really lively Latin music.
Mm-hmm.
But we want you to not only play the music, but we want you to really look the part. We want you to dress like really like, yeah. Like, so I said, yeah, I have no problem. I was very, I was just starting here in LA, and I took the gig, and I went dressed like a mambo guy, you know, with the whole mambo outfit, you know.
Right.
And there I am playing my set, Latin music, and you know, having fun, and then I'm facing this room with the doors are closed, you know, so people are around. They told me, yeah, you can start playing, you know. So I start playing and singing, la, 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 and having fun, and then they open the doors, and there's a dead person there. There's a dead person. His final wish was to have Latin music in his funeral.
How bizarre is that?
So there I am, dressed like a clown, playing Latin music, and everybody's crying. I'm like singing this music, like, hey, let's have fun, and then people are like crying, bawling. So that's
hilarious, man. That is so bizarre.
It's absolutely bizarre. Yeah, but that's LA.
Oh my God. How does that even come about, man? You know, they probably knew they couldn't have that open from the start, because what kind of vibe would you have brought to the table? Like,
yeah,
you see that, like, how do you get juiced up after you see the dead guy? It's not possible.
It was
holy crap. That is really funny, man. Holy shit. That is really funny. Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Hey, let's talk about your new album, Essencia. So this was my first exposure to you, and honestly, it really blew me away. I mean, 10 songs. It's an hour and 10 minutes. Great originals by 8 originals, you and Bruno. And what I really enjoyed was your ability to put one note into a stream, and it like changes the whole color of the passage after you hear that note. Like, you'll put a blues note in the middle there. And I thought it was so cool, because I was like, as a listener, I wasn't expecting that. And you did that a couple of times in different, you know, and it was so cool. It really like changed the whole, you know, it was like, it made the palette, the color palette suddenly, you know, doubled or tripled. You know, it was really nice, man.
Thank you, man. Thank you.
So it's you and guitars, Bruno Mangueira?
Mangueira, yeah.
How did you guys get together, and what prompted you to make the record?
Bruno went to school with my wife, Katina de Luna. Katina is a wonderful pianist also in her own right.
You're both pianists.
Yeah.
That's wild.
And she sings very well too. So she went to school in Brazil. She got her degree in popular music in Brazil. And she went to school with Bruno. And later with the years, she always told me about this guy. We are a little bit, we're always trying to find the people that do things, you know, there's a kind of musician that is very, that define defy categorization, labeling.
Yeah.
We know who they are, but we're also always trying to figure out who is very good at doing this specific thing, And there are not many people, amazingly as it might sound, there are not many people that can play Brazilian music properly, that know the real vibe, the patterns, the sound, that can improvise.
Okay.
The improvisation thing is something that is, it's hard to find someone that can really improvise well, that understand harmony, and that can read.
Okay.
Because sometimes you get a guy that can play, that can improvise, but they don't read. Sometimes they read, but they cannot play,
Yeah.
So we're always going through this list of musicians. And then Katina tells me, this guy, you should check him out, because, and then immediately, since I still can, well, I still understand the guitar, right? I don't play, but I understand what.
Sure.
I listen to two notes and I go like, wow, this guy really knows what he's doing. He's got like a really like super clean technique, but I still don't know him personally. So I went to Brazil. We did like a few gigs with my wife, and then we created this moment in which I would play a couple of concerts just with Bruno, just impromptu, just some tunes. So I brought some of my tunes, he brought some of his tunes, and then I realized, wow, the guy can read his ass off.
Right.
I mean, my music is not simple, and he read it like with no problem. And then he has this beautiful sound. I saw him warming up, so I saw the kind of warm-up exercise he would do. It's like, man, this is a guy that lives for this. He's searching, is being the best he can be. So it's very, very dedicated, And then he happened to be the greatest guy.
Oh, that's cool.
To work with, very fun guy. And now, after we did those two concerts, it's like my wife said, so, well, you should document this. You should do an album. But how do you do that? How do you document something that happened in this like so suddenly and so spontaneously? How do you recreate that in the studio? So we left it like that. We didn't really act upon that. So at some point he was coming to attend an activity in Cincinnati, and I told him, listen, I'm going to send you a ticket for you to come from Cincinnati to LA for 3 days. And we're going to do exactly what we did in Brazil. We're just going to get in the studio and play. And then document. Just push record and see what happens. And that's how it happened. He came. Well, we had arrangements, and then one day before, we kind of like gave, because we could, we had to, of course, clean some of the stuff, make sure that it's not absolutely, we want to make sure that there's some kind of arrangement involved and some work in that department. So we took his tunes and my tunes, the same tunes, and then we crafted now really quick arrangements for duet, specifically for duet. It's not the same, it's not the same, say, oh, let's play this tune, and then you play it and I played it, and that's it. But to do it right, if you're going to play in duet, then you really sit down and figure out, how the orchestration is gonna be. So that's what we did one day before. We went through everything, made some notes, mental notes, and then we recorded. We just played and recorded, and that's what.
I'm really amazed, because one of my questions was, have you played together a long time? Because there were passages there where you're playing parallel to each other.
Yeah. We created this little, but these are arrangements that I had played, like in my tunes, for instance. I played those arrangements for a long time, So I told him, it's like, well, there's no point in me doing this line if you are just like backing me up. People will know that we're just winging it, you know. So I wrote the line and I harmonized it.
Oh, so he's just that much of a good sight. Because I mean, I couldn't. My question was, how many takes did this take? Because it was so clean. And I said, "Oh, these guys must be played together for years."
Yeah, he practiced those lines like through the night. Like he's like really, really disciplined.
Yeah. Well,
same thing with his tunes. You know, his tunes. He had this one tune that is like a choro, like very old style Brazilian thing. But it was kind of like a lead sheet. It was like kind of like a jammy thing, you know. And I told him, man, this would be a great tune, but it needs some kind of a section in which we should orchestrate something.
Yeah.
So people would know that there's some kind of thought. And then again, he came up. That was the last day of recording. He came up with this thing. He's like, "Oh, I just did this. What do you think?" It's like perfect, you know. So we orchestrated it, and that good of a reader. And
you guys did a great job. I want to just ask you about a couple of my favorite tunes, tracks on that record. And then She Smiles, Maya's song. That was such a beautiful track. I was just curious, who is Maya and what's the backstory there?
My wife is sick and tired of that backstory, but I'll tell you.
It was an ex-girlfriend. That means it has to be an ex-girlfriend.
No, it's because, you know, it's like I tell my wife, like Frank Sinatra had to sing New York, his whole life, and he had to pretend that he was never sick and tired of singing New York. Well, Maya is my daughter.
Oh, okay.
And then, you know, I tell people that when she was born, immediately people expected me to come up with these beautiful lullabies. Everybody composes a lullaby when they have a kid.
Especially a daughter.
Yeah, it's always a lullaby.
Yeah.
And then I tried, but it didn't happen. I mean, I didn't feel inspiration to do a lullaby because I was always tired. When you have a baby, you're always tired, and babies are messy, and you are always irritated, and so it's like I really don't trust the true essence of the inspiration of a lullaby when you have a kid. I don't trust that's legitimate inspiration. So I left it there. I never had any kind of like, I kept looking at her and taking care of her the first year, the second year, the third year, and I would never get, because it's a lot of work when toddlers, you know, you're always. And then one day she was like 4 years old, something like that, and she was playing in their living room with a box, with an empty box. And then I asked her, I said, what is the box? And she told me, no, what? Can you see that the box is, I don't know, like this is a kitchen. And then wow, it all clicked. I mean, the imagination of kids, you know, they can, with that same box became an airplane, and then the other day it became a car, and then, you know, so that day, boom, the tune.
That's when you got the inspiration.
Boom.
Yeah.
So you know, it's a kind of like a lively kind of tempo. It's odd meter. Kids are not. Kids don't behave in a binary way.
Totally, man.
Kids are totally odd. So they're in an odd meter and all that.
Very cool, man. It's a beautiful song. And then you got one there, "The Simple Life." It's another pretty song, kind of melancholy. And I thought the opening by Bruno was fantastic, and I was just curious anything about that song.
The Simple Life is a song that dedicated to my father when he passed away, and he, as I said, he was a doctor, but he was one of those very old school doctors. He never made a lot of money with his practice. He was truly he worked as a family doctor for the slums, for the people in the slums.
So he was out at the people's houses that
Yeah,
nobody else
he
would want to go to.
Yeah, he would go. He had a chauffeur from the social service. He had a chauffeur in a 4x4.
Right.
And then he would go all through the slums with this little bag, you know, treating people. So he never had an ambition of becoming wealthy with medicine. He was like a truly, like his heart was.
It was all about helping people. And,
yeah. Truly, he's like that kind of character, and he was kind of like an outcast because people wouldn't really think. It's like, why wouldn't you want to make money and make a better life for your family? He was tormented, you know, by many people, you know, and he could come across being the lack of ambition could have been read as just being lazy.
No, that's far from lazy. You're working.
But for some people, not wanting to make money could be interpreted as you're just lazy. But so he was towards the end of his life, he decided to move to this little village. It's a village that doesn't even show in the map. He left the town. He left the city, and had like a little house with only 2 rooms in the middle of this village. I mean, I think they had running water. That's about it.
Wow. What made him do that?
Because he was sick and tired of the city, life in the city. I mean, of people, the bullshit, the traffic, and so yeah, he was a dreamer, total dreamer, and so he decided to go for this absolute withdrawing from all the material things.
So he like dropped off the grid.
Yeah, he just existed in this house with his girlfriend. He had a shortwave radio.
Oh wow, I haven't heard that in a long time.
He was a fanatic of catching like weird stations all over the world, and his books, and that was it.
And he was happy.
He was absolutely happy. So that's why I composed this, The Simple Life.
The Simple Life, yeah, man, beautiful track, really pretty track.
Thank you, man.
I really like that. Do you have a favorite track on the record?
I mean, all of. I cannot speak about my tunes because I played those tunes forever, you know. But to me, the balance of what Bruno brought through his compositions made the record really special, you know, because I don't get to play Brazilian music with that level of authenticity, chops, but also chops and gravitas and everything, you know. So Bruno's tunes are all great. Samba Pro Toninho. He wrote a tune called Santa Clarita that dedicated to my wife and me. He wrote it here. So God. So those are great tunes.
I love the record. Simple Life was my favorite, man. It's really beautiful. And now that I like it even more now that I hear the story, man.
Thank you, man. Thank you.
Tell me music, top 3 Desert Island discs in no particular order and just for this moment.
Oh, gee.
I know it's like a very unfair question.
Well, we all have like a million things that we like, but I'm a sucker for music that makes me like go back in time and feel emotional. I think enough of cerebral music. I mean, I'm constantly listening to a lot of cerebral music. I mean, jazz and scales and permutations, and that's all really exciting and motivating, and I'm always trying to. But when I don't listen as much music as I should. Actually, I don't listen to music at all. That's
really?
Why? Yeah, that's my biggest confession of the day.
Yeah, why?
You know, I don't know.
Are you
I
afraid
very
of getting
seldom listen to
tainted?
music. Well, yeah, I initially I did it when I was composing for some of my albums. I wanted to not have any foreign influence, you know, because I'm like, when I listen to something like Chick Corea marked me for my whole life, and I had to stop listening to Chick Corea.
He marred you. That's funny.
Yeah, the imprint
Yeah.
was so deep that I had to literally stop listening to Chick Corea completely
Yeah.
many years
I get
ago.
that. I get
Many
that.
years, because I would channel some of his mannerisms and stuff, and I didn't want that.
Well, you're
So
big on, I just, in getting to know you, authenticity is really important to you, man. I can tell that. And so I totally get.
well, yeah, authenticity in whatever I do.
Yeah.
Uh, you know, if I want to do a project that is of a Brazilian vibe, I want to really channel it correctly.
Yeah.
And if I want to do a jazz album, I want to channel it correctly. But also, authenticity for me means the moment in which you can be authentic as an artist,
Yeah.
and that could be the fusion of all these things together. That's
Right.
also being authentic.
Yes.
So there's different layers of authenticity, right? These different moments. Uh, but I listen to music when someone recommends something.
Okay.
Someone I really respect me. Oh, check this out. I go and I listen very attentively, and I learn a lot. And I have this thing that I like to absorb. I'm listening and I'm absorbing and I'm making mental notes, and then immediately I try to apply what I learn
Right.
into my mix. I want to think of myself as some kind of like a cook that gets like a brand new set of spices every time I listen to something.
Yeah.
Then I want to start experimenting. Right after I listen, I start experimenting. I'm gonna put a little more cilantro this time, and a little more cumin, you know, and that's how I learn, you know.
Yeah.
But I stopped listening to music like I used to do. Like I always had some kind of music background.
Yeah.
And I don't know, something changed, you know. I don't listen to music. And in the car, when I'm in the car, if I don't have anything punctual to listen to for a project or for research, I mean, sometimes I have to research, you know.
Yeah, of course.
What the style is going to be, blah, for a specific recording or whatever. I prefer to listen to talk radio.
Right. Just to let you know, I've heard this several times. You're not the only guy that's like that by a long shot, because it's your vocation, and you know, so it's hard to be a hobby anymore at a certain point in time.
Well, yeah, and I enjoy the silence too.
Yeah,
because
no, I've heard
because when we're on, we're full on.
Yeah,
we're 100% on. So your brain, your ears, your all your system. So when I'm not doing it, it's like I enjoy silence.
Yeah.
But if I had to listen to something, like I would listen to stuff that makes me really, really feel emotional, feel alive. So, like for instance, the Samuel Barber's Adagio for Strings is a piece that I do it as an exercise in reconnecting with my I don't know, I feel so alive when I listen to that. It makes me feel vulnerable. It makes me feel like, oh, it's so powerful what that piece does to me. Also, the connection that I have with the music from Cinema Paradiso by Ennio Morricone.
Yeah, that's great.
Also does that for me because it reminds me of a time, and exactly of a historical moment in my life that completely was in convergence with the story of the music of the film. so that everything acquires gets magnified, and I get really emotional. Or there's an album by Klaus Ogerman and Michael Brecker called Cityscape, which is a masterclass in improvisation and arrangement, orchestral arrangement. But also beyond that, every time I play that, I remember exactly the time that I listened to it for the first time with my friends, and we were like, our jaws were on the floor, like, wow.
What's the name of that record? Because I want to check it out.
Cityscape.
Cityscape. Thank you.
Klaus Ogerman and Michael Brecker.
Thanks. Well, there you go. You got your 3. You know, it's funny when you said that. I remember years ago, our kids are older now, but I remember once they were all like, my wife did no longer have to take them to school. I was in the car with her one time. She was driving, and I said, "Oh, let me put the radio on." She goes, "No." And I said, "Why?" She goes, "I've been lugging 3 kids around to 3 different schools for 10 years." She goes, "I so much enjoy silence now. Just to have nothing on."
Silence,
said,
man.
I totally get it, babe. I totally get it. So yeah, that was funny, man.
No, but I mean, once in a while, someone will. I mean, almost every week, someone tells me, "Hey, have you heard this guy? Check him out." So I do my homework, and I go and research, and I go and check all the available discography on the guy, and then I get really immersed into what. And then, you know, I do listen to music, but I'm not the guy that has
not for fun. You're
not
listening.
in the car all the time, just a background. No.
Yeah, I get it. Hey, what's the best decision you ever made, Otmaro?
The best decision, I would say, becoming a musician.
What do you like most about yourself?
That I am. I like how extremely sensible I am in the good way. I think I feel about things very, very deeply. Everything about suffering, but also about happiness and about everything in between. I feel it really deeply.
That's
you know, I could all of a sudden not be a musician anymore, and I would be okay, because there's so much else that I feel really, really deeply about that, you know.
That's a beautiful answer, man. That's cool. Most important lesson you learned from your dad?
You don't need much to be happy.
Yeah, you know what? That has struck a good chord with you, man. I can tell that. That's a valuable lesson. And how about your mom? Most important lesson for your mom?
My mom was the other side of the coin, and from her I got her dedication to work. She was a total workaholic. She's still alive, but up till not too long ago, she was still on. She was still treating patients. She was still making decisions in her hospital, and she never lowered her guard regarding like keeping like training. She kept doing courses over courses and PhDs and this and that. So she was more like
focus driven
than my father in that regard. So
what kind of medicine does she practice?
She's pioneer in the field of cerebral palsy in my country.
Wow.
Yeah. She opened the first institute for study and treatment of cerebral palsy.
man, my younger son, it's my middle child, he has mild cerebral palsy. And I'm just going to tell a story. He's my hero because he wrestled, he ran track, and he swam, and wrestled, ran track, and swam in high school. And his first 3 years of and he's, he walks up on his toes. Mm-hmm. And when you wrestle, I don't know if you know much about wrestling, you got no legs. It's very hard. So his first 3 years of wrestling, he didn't win one match. And his fourth year, they got a new coach, and whatever weight he wrestled at, they kind of disregarded him. And they said he had to go to a lighter weight. Meanwhile, he's bigger and older. And I remember him coming to me and he says, Dad, and he's got a great work ethic. First person at practice, last person to leave, all three sports. Mm. And he said, Dad, I just can't do this. They want me to go this lighter weight. It's just not fair. I said, you are 100% right. And he goes, I feel like quitting. I said, listen, I will support you if that's your decision, but do this for yourself just one time. Get down to that weight, see what happens. He cuts to the weight. He wins his first match in 4 years, and he won 5 matches that season. Mm. And anytime I am stuck, especially with a physical thing, if I'm in the gym and I just think of him finishing a lap dead last or wrestling, and he's my freaking hero. So I honor what your mom did, man. That's really
cool. Imagine that she and all the doctors of the time, this is the early 60s, imagine how much misinformation there was around.
I can't imagine.
Around cerebral palsy, especially those who had compromised speech or communicational skills at all. Because some can make some kind of speech, some can't even speak.
Yeah.
So around that time, a person with cerebral palsy would be nothing.
Yeah, they consider him stupid or handicapped, mentally retarded.
Yeah. So my mom is part of this generation of doctors that came to bring awareness that no, they are absolutely intact inside of their brain.
Yeah,
there's an amazing potential. So through her work, the first engineers, the first artists, the first, some of my best friends from childhood were patients of my mom.
That's awesome, man. I really
so
nice.
Kids that were like, and I saw them becoming like attorneys, and so that's her work.
Yeah, well, when he was little, he told me that, he goes, people would treat me different, and I said, listen, when you have a physical disability, people are going to look at you automatically, unfortunately, that you have a mental disability. I was honest with him. Yeah. I said, so you're going to have to work a little harder just to get on even playing ground. I said, totally not fair. I said, but that's the way it is. I didn't want to lie to him, and he did it. He worked hard, and now he's going to school to be a physical therapist because he did physical therapy as a kid, and he felt so good about being on the receiving end. He wants to work with young kids in that same capacity, man. So I'm really happy your mom did that. And anybody who goes through that,
it's pretty scary good to have a physical therapist that has knowledge of wrestling too.
I need him right now, man.
How's that for extreme manipulation?
Yeah. Well, that's great on your mom, man. That's very cool. Any hobbies outside of music?
Yeah. Well, I still love, as I mentioned, I love reading about the process of acting.
Yeah.
I had to abandon I stopped pursuing the career, but I like the process because I think there's a very intimate relationship between improvisation in acting and improvisation in music. I think music should inform itself from acting more.
Do you teach that in your master class? Because I bet a lot of people would benefit.
Yeah. I bring it up. I don't get too specific about it, but I point people in the right direction about what to read, about what techniques promote this advanced listening, because it's all in the listening. When you're improvising, it's about listening, not about playing. And that's what acting is. When you are a good actor, it's not because you say your lines great. It's because you are really listening, really attentively to the intention of your partner. So I had this epiphany one day. I said, this is what it should be when you're improvising music, right? You have to be channeling what you're listening, not what you want to do.
That's a really interesting approach to it. Yeah, man.
And I also do, actually, I pursued it as a professional thing for a while. I do magic.
Dude, you're like Mr. Talent here, man. So you did magic. I just happened to bring along my deck of cards.
No, that thing that I was fiddling with, behind I always carry my deck with me, I'm always like, fiddling with it,
So let me ask you honestly, you must have got tons of girls from doing that when you were a kid. I mean, that's like a babe magnet, isn't it, man? It's like, come on, I know it is.
At some point I did it, I was, there's this famous place called the Magic Castle here in Los Angeles. It's like the Mecca for magicians. And I tell people it's the hardest and most nerve-wracking audition I've ever done in my life. Not even for any gig, not even for any tour, not even Jock McLaughlin. I was not this nervous as I was when I went to audition for my membership at the Magic Castle.
Oh, you got to get a membership there by audition.
Yeah, you have to pass an audition to become a magician member. So I'll prepare I never worked so hard in getting my routine together, like a 15-minute magic act, with a card. I only do cards, this is like several years ago, and you're right. I mean, once you are it's like
like a chick magnet, man.
It's like being guitar lead too.
Yeah,
it's like the rock guy, guitar lead in a rock band. But I was already married, so hey.
Youth is wasted on the young, right?
Yeah.
All right, studying acting, magic. What else? Cooking. You cook? Yeah.
Seriously.
Yeah. So what do you like to cook, man?
Seriously, my mom used to cook very, very well, and for a long time I did many collaborations with a company in Italy. So I used to travel to Italy quite often. So I learned a lot of tips from the mothers of my friends in Italy.
That's so funny.
So I cook a lot of very good Italian recipes, authentic, and I'm the one who cooks here at home. So
that's cool, man.
So I've always, it relieves stress. It's a totally creative activity.
What's your favorite thing to cook?
Sauces. I'm all for a sauce. Sauces. Yeah.
Cooking, number one hobby for musicians.
Yeah.
Yeah, number one hobby. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, it's true because it's very similar to music. It's
very creative. Pinch of this, pinch of that. Yeah, man. It is.
One day you decide to do it without this. Let's see what happens if today I don't add this. Instead, I'm just going to add that other thing. Let's see. And then you realize you create a new dish.
That's cool.
And that becomes your new thing from there on.
All right. What else? Magic, cooking, studying acting, anything else?
That's about it.
Dude, I think you got a bunch of plan Bs here, man. If the pandemic lasts any longer, man.
Well, if anyone has it harder than musicians, that's magicians.
Yeah.
There's nothing more sad than a magic show online.
Magic con Otmaro.
Yeah. Hey guys, adjust your screens. Get closer.
Oh my God. I'm crying, man. Adjust your screen. Oh my God. Oh God. Oh God. Oh my God. 3 more questions. And what's toughest decision you had to make, or most difficult thing you've had to do?
Oh boy. Yeah, there was a very the toughest decision in my life. Had to do with providing a norm, the most normal living situation for my daughter when I had to separate my ex-wife.
Oh yeah, that's a tough one to unwind.
Yeah. That's the toughest one, bar none. I mean, nothing compares to that. When you realize that the only way that you can create something normal is by doing the ultimate abnormal thing, which is to break up a marriage.
Yeah, that's very tough.
Yeah, so
because getting married is kind of like hard enough, but and there's no book for it, but it's a natural. Because I went through this with my ex-wife, and when you undo that, it's totally unnatural. Under
any circumstances, it's unnatural. I mean, the thing to happen was you were supposed to stay together forever.
Yeah,
that's what it should have been, but it's not.
Yeah.
So you have to at some point end the theater play.
Yeah. Totally.
And come to terms with the fact that this is not. Yeah. And that is better for. I mean, at that point, my thought is she's going to be more normal living with parents that are separated and happy.
Yeah,
separately than living in a house where there was so much missing.
Yeah. I totally get that, man. Yeah, it's a tough decision.
So that was very tough.
How old's your daughter now?
She's 21.
Awesome, man. Very cool. Best advice you've been given, and who gave it to you?
Oh, man. Yeah, your questions are really...
All right. What is your bass and treble settings on you?
No, I mean, it's like I love it because I do a program too with my guests, and I ask these kind of questions, and I see them suffering trying to. Oh my God!
I gave you all the questions. I gave you the questions.
No, but the thing is that I'm always processing every little piece of advice that I've received. And I remember the time and even the exact time and the person that told me, so they are all so valuable. And there's one thing. At some point I was working with someone who shall remain nameless. That is a person that has read a lot about enlightenment and philosophy and religion, different religions of the world. So these people, I mean, I appreciate that a lot when people really do the research. There's a little downside to that. If you don't have a special sensibility still within you, you can become a really cold person when it comes to judging other people. So I saw this person destroy the beliefs of someone. By just telling him, it's like, wow, what are you saying? It's like, you should read about this, you should read about that. It's like, what you're thinking. I mean, basically,
I'm right.
Yeah, I'm right. You don't know what you're saying, because I'm right because I've read all this other stuff,
Yeah. That's not cool.
And that I mean, in a way, yeah, you've read about all this other stuff and it's great. But then that day I learned something. Nobody told me this, but I remember this thing I had read. So it became my mantra is you cannot shatter a dream unless you can provide a better one.
Yeah, that's a very compassionate kind philosophy to have.
Even if you are absolutely certain.
Yeah.
If you cannot give comfort to that person.
Yeah.
In providing, check this. This is, you might want to check this.
Yeah, right.
Then better don't say anything.
Yeah, man. What's that old expression? Better don't say anything unless you have something, unless you have something nice to say, basically,
Yeah, or if the words are not better than silence.
Yeah.
Better not say.
Yeah, I like that one better, actually.
Yeah. That was from Kung Fu, the series.
Snatch the pebble from my hand. See, we're dating ourselves now, man. And last question, man, thank you very much for everything. It's been a ton of fun. I really appreciate this. Biggest change in your personality over the last 10 years, and how much of that change has been intentional and how much is just a natural part of aging?
I want to believe that I'm still a kid. I'm still a kid. Sometimes I have to remind myself I'm almost 57 years old, but I feel like a kid.
That's awesome.
And I don't think this being a big change in my personality. I don't like many of my friends that grew up to become so serious and so, like, the sense of maturity is conditioned by the fact that they have to be always serious and so proper and all that. I'm very, like, spontaneous and sometimes irrelevant and irreverent. Irreverent and I can be irrelevant
sometimes. Wait, bring your screens closer.
yeah, right.
Adjust your screens.
But the one thing that I'm learning with the years is that at some point when I was young, like really young, in my teenage years, I might have thought that everybody had the same facility to do things than me in with music or with drawing or with it. So I've heard from friends of mine that I used to be very pushy.
Right.
Oh, come on, man, you don't understand this. Come on, get up. Let me show you, It's like, I used to be like that, Right. But I don't think I did it from a bad angle. I thought for me it was like, how come you don't hear what I'm hearing,
Yeah.
So now I tried not to do that.
Right.
And I tried I try to understand that everybody processes things differently, and I've learned that through being an instructor, through being a teacher, that students don't understand things the same way. You have to provide them different frames of reference.
Yeah.
For the same concept. You have to explain it different ways, and one of those different ways is going to click with.
Yeah. That's cool, man. Very cool. You got like top 5 for best hair at 57, man. I got to tell you, you do. This guy, if you're listening to the audio, man, this guy's got this thick head of hair, man. Him and his magic. You can still pull the senoritas, man. Let me tell you. Hey, man, thank you very much for everything. Let me tell people.
It's been a lot of fun, man.
For me too. Let me tell people where to find you. Your website's Otmaro Ruiz, right?
Yeah.
.com. Okay, it's Otmaro Ruiz, Otmaro OtmaroRuiz.com. I would love everybody to check out the new album. It's called Essencia. It's with Otmaro and Bruno Manguera. It's a beautiful record, man. The playing on there is just superb. Like I started at the beginning of this guy is one of the most amazing jazz pianists I've ever heard. I mean, he's just off the charts, like really fantastic. Also, you can find Otmaro on Facebook, facebook.com, Otmaro Ruiz. A couple of things that I had a beat out of him that he's available for. Lessons, keyboard lessons. If you're interested in that, and if you're an intermediate or higher player, contact him on his website. There's a contact form there, or you could message him on Facebook. Are you on Instagram as well?
Yes.
Okay, Facebook or Instagram. Be respectful. What are you looking for? Listen to his playing, and make sure you guys have the right vibe and why you're interested in working with him. And also the same thing with if you're interested in working with Otmaro on production, if you're having him produce you, he is, really selective and in a way that's beneficial for you. What I mean is that he's not going to jump and produce anybody. He wants to make sure he could be of service, and the skill sets and the ears and the sensibility from a musical standpoint that he has to offer is going to enhance what you or your band is bringing to the table. That being said, if you're interested, same thing, message him on Facebook or Instagram, or go to his website and go to the contact tab, send him some links of your music, what you're looking for, what you need help with, and why you think he may be a fit. And then he can assess all that and make a decision as, hey, let's have a conversation, or I'm probably not the guy for you, but here's another guy that you might, or gal that you might want to consider. So anything else? Can I sell anything else? Magic tricks, go to Otmaro Ruiz, Magic for the Common Man, Adjust Your Screens. That's his title of his first info program.
Yeah. Think my next show is called Think of a Card.
Anything else that I forgot or that you want to mention?
No, that's it. That you pretty much covered everything.
All right, man.
Any manager or publicity expert.
Dental work. He's got great teeth. There you go, man. Anything else? Thank you for everything, brother. I really appreciate it.
My pleasure, man. Thank you so much.
Hang on 1 second. We'll wrap up. Everybody, thank you so much for listening. If you enjoyed this, please share it on your social media contacts with your friends. Thanks very much to Otmaro Ruiz. Please check out the new album, Essencia, with Otmaro and Bruno Manguera. It's a beautiful record. You're going to love it. Most important, remember that happiness is a choice, so choose wisely. Be nice, go play your guitar or your piano, and have some fun. Until next time, peace and love, everybody. I am out. Brother, thank you for everything.